We are now going to do a quick walkthrough of Fluid. This will help familiarize you with some of the areas we will need to interact with in order to set up and calibrate the cartographer. Open a browser. I'm using Chrome. Type in the IP address of your printer. Then add :4408. This brings us to Fluid's main page. When we added in the cartographer install, you now have the camera in Fluid. Over on the left are the main navigation buttons. You have a home screen. The console is basically a direct command line to your printer. You can type clipper commands or macros here, and Fluid will show you exactly how your printer responds. Things like homing, running the cartographer calibrations, checking status messages, and troubleshooting errors. G-code preview. Any jobs that you have run, history, tune. You can actually run bed meshes here. It'll show you which one is active and which one is saved. Configuration. These are all your configuration files. Custom and updates were installed with the cartographer. Printer config. A lot of your macros are in here. Setup items. When you go into a config file, if you press Control F on your keyboard, you get the find here. We'll type in R3min. It actually brings us down to what was installed when we installed the R3min bed. You can do a save and restart after any changes. The save and restart is different from a save config or a firmware restart. Or you can close back out of the file over here. We have system. You can restart Clipper or do a firmware restart. It also shows you your system utilization. So the areas we will deal with, we'll go back to the home page. You can do a home all, which is G28. If you type G28 into the command line over here on your small console preview, it would home the printer. Home XY, home Z. This is the increments that it will jog by if you're using the jog buttons. On the printer screen, there is a menu where you can adjust your Z offset live. That can also be done here, and you can also see your Z offset that's currently running here. You can turn on your heaters for extruder, heater bed, chamber fan, chamber heater. These can all be set here. We scroll down, you have a list of macros here. If you install the plate selector, there will be additional macros added up here for touch scan and touch calibrate for the cartographer. For the standard cartographer setup under tools, you have cartographer scan calibrate and cartographer touch calibrate. And we will go through those to finish setting up the cartographer. Probe accuracy, you can run that to test how the cartographer setup is reacting, whether it's consistent or not. Screws tilt calculate. When you run this, it will actually probe the bed at all four bed leveling screws and then bring up a screen to tell you how much you need to adjust the knobs to actually get your bed level. Z tilt adjust will measure both sides of the bed and adjust the bed side to side so it is level. This is a small view of the console. We can come over here and see the full console. There are several commands that you can type in here to run different things on the printer. Configuration. Updates and custom was added in. One item you'll want is in custom, and that is overrides.config. We open that file. We have bed mesh here. It defaults to 19 by 19 when you first install. It defaults that way for the no cartographer setup. You wouldn't want to do a 50-50 mesh using the stock probe. That would take a very long time. But when we finish the setup here, we will adjust that. These are individual Z offsets for the different materials. For the plate selector, this will adjust the start frequency for the Carto Touch Calibrate. And then you also have the max noisy samples down here. So the default setting is 2. Max noisy samples means if you have a subset of 5 samples, it is looking for 3 of them to be within a certain range. So you can have 2 that are outside of that range and it will still find a good sample. If you set this to 0, it'll still do the same 10 touches to try and find 3 consecutive samples that are within that range. I typically set this to 0 when I'm setting up my cartographer. Then after you make any changes here, you can come over here and just click save, but before they take effect you will have to restart, or you can click here and hit save and restart. We'll back out of here, and then I'll come here to do a firmware restart at different times, or type firmware_restart into the console. That should be all the items we need for Fluid. So in the next video, I will walk through exactly what we need to set up in Fluid.